Today is a wonderful guest. Buckle your seatbelts. We've got Rachel Ann Roberts from Rachel Roberts Recipes and Coffee Talk. Rachel, thank you so much for being on Mindful Mutiny. Can we start off with you talking a little bit about like what is it that you do?
Okay. All right. So, I have a little morning show called Coffee Talk. So every morning I wake up. I'm a morning person, so I'm up by like 4:30 and I'm by 5:30 I'm recording Coffee Talk. So yeah, you might have seen me on, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or Threads or all sorts of places. But yeah, that's Monday through Friday. So I do Coffee Talk. Then throughout the week, you might find me on Fox News. They call me up and they have me meet them, and I do some morning stuff with Ruben Domingo. So it's that's a lot of fun. Um, let's see. I'm writing a book, Eat Clean, Drink a Little Dirty, like you said. Yep.
Yes.
It's filled with recipes and stories. I've done a lot of traveling in my life, so in between the recipes, little stories that talks about, I guess how I became a chef, and how I started doing what I do when it comes to food. So, and then
Right.
on top of that, I'm shooting episodes for a cooking show for Rachel Roberts Recipes. So, but the cooking show has when I started shooting episodes for that, a few years ago, people would turn on and watch cooking shows. Now you turn on Instagram and TikTok and there's these little clips, and it's so beautifully orchestrated where people, and it's like a dance, and they're doing this stuff, and it's within 30 seconds you get an idea of how to make it. If you don't know how to make it, it's got a little place where you can click on it and it tells you the recipe. And really, that's all we need. So the whole idea of doing a cooking show really is kind of like, so we're still shooting them, but it's kind of transitioning into like a comedy. So there's like, it's
Nice.
yeah. It's like there's cooking, but it's also really funny. So because why else would people want to watch a cooking show at this point?
Oh, that's
It's like
great.
when you can get it for the
So
same thing.
have you always been a chef? Like what's your background?
So my mother, my mom was full blooded Italian from Pietrasanta, and so my dad was this good old Texan guy. So she always would cook these fabulous meals, and every night it was like Thanksgiving. It was like the table was fully set. We would all sit at the table. You didn't tell mom what to cook. She cooked and you ate what she made.
Oh,
And they
how
don't, it's not
awesome.
like that anymore, right? I mean, I don't know. Do you have kids, Jeremy?
I don't have kids, no.
Okay. Well, things are so different for families. And I don't know, maybe it's just my family. I don't think so though. My kids, they tell me 24 hours a day, and that's no joke. At 3 a.m, my older one, who's 16, will come downstairs and he'll tell me what he wants. He'll wake me up, Mom, I'm hungry. Go make me a cheeseburger, and I'll
Wow.
do it. I
He's
do
got a
that.
weird voice.
Yeah, yeah.
Mom, what are
So
you doing? Come on.
yeah,
Let's
well,
get
you're
going.
right.
It's
That's
3 in the morning. Come on.
that's
I don't
yeah.
have all day.
Leave me alone. But that's what I do. I mean, I get up and I do it, and I'm happy to do it. That's my motherly duty. But when I was a kid, it wasn't like that. It was your mother cooked and you loved it. No matter
Yeah.
what she made, you sat down at the table and you ate as a family.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a single woman. I've got 2 kids, and we all eat at different times. And I do intermittent fasting, so I don't
Mhm.
even eat after 5 o'clock. And that's one thing I'll talk about, like as far as you know being happy. I know you were you we had you on Movie Reviews and More a few weeks
Yes.
ago. Yes, and that's how I met you, Jeremy. And so you contacted me afterwards and said, wow, you've got a really positive energy. And I played a Depeche Mode song that you were like, oh, wow, you knew that, right?
Love Depeche Mode. Yes.
I love Depeche Mode too. Yeah, Depeche Mode is awesome. So anyway, you saw that energy, and there's a reason that every day I wake up and I have the same happy face, and I have an energy, and it's, people feel it. It's
Hmm.
why I'm on Fox News. They felt it. They contacted me. They were like, "Wow, you've got a lot of energy." And the reason is because, there's I stay happy.
Yes.
I'm very, very rarely unhappy. But when I am, if you're like if you follow me every single day for years, you might have seen every now and then there'll be a day and I'm just like, oh, like I had a dog die one day, and I think I even showed the dog. I was like, oh my God, look, my dog, he died. I had a dog that was 25 years old that
Oh my
died.
gosh.
I know. He looked it too.
Wow.
So, but anyway, staying happy, I think a big part of that is because I'm single. And I'm not saying marriage is bad or whatever, but there is something to that. There is no one that I argue with. There is nobody to tell me, oh, don't do that or do this. Or so I'm not, it makes me a happy person. And that's one thing that I truly believe is, if
Yeah.
you're not in a relationship that makes you and keeps you happy, and I know there's people out there that are, and God, I just look at them and I think that's just awesome. But for me, I've never been in anything like that, and I'm pretty happy the way things are. So, that's how it is. So, yeah.
So your mother is a strong
Oh,
Italian woman,
yeah,
and
strong
your
Italian.
father's
Let's go back. Yep.
yeah. So early in life, like where are you? What are you doing?
Okay. So, yeah, growing up in eating her food, and it was always, I mean, she was the best cook. And so at some point, I remember her telling me, okay, well, I have taught you how to eat well. And so that's the most important thing is how to eat well, because it's, when I die, you're going to have to continue, you got to feed yourself and your own family. So when she died, that's what really, really, when I started to cook on my own is because she wasn't cooking. And so yeah, and now, it is what it is, which is, I go on and I teach people how to cook, and we do different things, and it's good. But I think, and when I talk about cooking, it's important that you, first of all, if you can, grow things, grow your own herbs, your
Right.
vegetables, your fruits. And so a lot of times I'll shoot videos where I'm walking in my garden and I'll see what is growing. Are the figs growing? Or, and that is where, where I get influence on what I'm going to cook that day, what's fresh. So cook with fresh ingredients, cook with the taste that you like, things that you enjoy. Don't go to a recipe and then think, oh, I don't like cilantro, I'm not going to use it. Well, don't use that. Put in something else, put in parsley, put it, don't take it out. It's not going to kill it. So
Was your mother an experimenter, like with recipes? I mean, I know that she cooked like these big meals and whatnot.
she was, like I said, she was just an amazing cook. And so for me to follow, which now I think I'm even better than she is, but there was a time I know that I never thought that was possible. I think
She's not
true
watching this, is she?
happiness. What?
She's not watching this, is she?
No, 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 no. Her and my dad passed away in
Okay.
2012. And I think that is actually another form of true happiness. And I know that's kind of dark, but um, I don't think that we really become who we're supposed to be until our parents die. There is really, because our parents have expectations of who we're supposed to be. And so until our parents are gone, we are on some level, maybe we don't even realize it, we are still trying to be that other person.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so Yeah. When I remember when my mom died, my mother had this huge personality. She spoke 7 languages. And I remember when she was dying, there were 2 people here, and the guy looks at me. He's like the head of the, I don't know, some orchestra or something in, whatever, in Chicago. He looked at me and he was like, "You just never stood a chance." Like, it was like, 'cause she had such a big personality. And I was like, what an asshole, right? Well, anyway, he apologized years later because he saw me doing what I do online. And he was like, "Wow, you did not become that person until your parents died." And I'm like, I
Mm.
know. It's they, in a weird way, they held me back, and I wasn't able to open up as a person and who I'm supposed to be. There's no fear. You don't have to pretend anymore when your parents go. Right? All those things that all the personality quirks or things you did, you can do them.
Okay, hold on, I'm taking notes. Orchestrate terrible
Well,
car accident.
that's a part of being happy, is the freedom to be who you are supposed to be. And if you're dating somebody or you have family members that like hold you back, you will always be something else. But when
Mm.
there's nobody there to like take you down, and you are just able to be, we're all meant to be our own true selves. And that is a weird thing, because we are weird. When nobody is around, the weird stuff happens. And when I say weird, it's funny.
Right.
We're funnier, we have more energy, it's we're healthier. And I truly believe that.
Well, early on in your life, because you're talking about finding yourself a little bit later in life.
Mhm.
Early in your life, like, what was your track? Where were you going? What was the thing that you were starting out to do because that seemed like the right thing to do?
Oh, in my 20s, I thought I was gonna be like I partied like a rock star. So I mean, it was just, yeah, it's a miracle. I remember I had my palm read one time, and this woman was like, "Oh my God, your lifeline like ends, but then it picks back up." So whoever, and she showed it happened when I was 33, which is funny because that's when I got pregnant with my older son. And she's like, "This is weird. It's like your life ended as that person, and then it picks back up on a whole nother track." And that's true. I think in life, we can go. And my personality, even when I look back on my videos when I started doing them, is different than the way it is now.
Right.
We grow. And I for me, I was a long time, I was just a mom, single mom. I was a soccer mom. Um and that's, you know, I didn't date, I didn't do much, I was just being a mom, happy being a mom, and a very good mom. Um and when COVID started, that opened up the whole internet for me, because the thing is we stayed inside. We were one of those people. They were like, what do we do? So for 6 months, we stayed inside. My kids were homeschooled. I had everything delivered, like all the groceries, and I went outside like in a hazmat suit, like scrubbed all the boxes, with soapy water, right? Like
Yeah.
macaroni boxes are all like, it was a mess. But that's what it looked like. My truck battery even died because I didn't drive it. And I mean, it was nuts. But in order to stay connected to people, I would turn on my camera, and I remember I remember um I would do these prayers. And I'm not a very religious person, so me
Yeah.
praying was hilarious, right? I'm like praying to the baby Jesus, and my son is walking through, who's atheist. He's like walking in the background, like, this is ridiculous, right? Like, you're not supposed to, like, he, like, what do you know? You're atheist, but he was like, you're not supposed to like pray to the baby Jesus, right? Anyway, I would do these prayers, and I'm like, we're gonna all get down on our knees. Let's get on our knees. If you're watching, let's all get down on, like, and I would do these prayers like in these funny voices, and I'm like, oh, well, it was fun. It was just fun. I remember during that time, we were all doing like these push-up challenges. Do you remember that?
No, I remember this. Yes.
Oh yeah. So I would do like push-up challenges, and like I remember the first challenge day I did this. It was like I could barely like, oh, and I was like, okay, yes. And then after like a couple weeks, it was like,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started turning on the camera when I was in the kitchen, and I would share with people like while I was cooking, and people really liked that. So then it grew. I remember when I first started Coffee Talk, it wasn't even called Coffee Talk. It was called like What's Happening Today or something. But
Right.
it's funny how that evolved into Coffee Talk. But I guess my point is reinventing yourself. If you're out there and you're watching this podcast and maybe you're not happy, if there's something that you want to do or something else you want to be, reinventing yourself is possible. Stop being who you are if it doesn't make you happy. Be what you want to be. Be who you want to be. And for me, that was, it included turning on the camera and pulling people into my life. And I tell you what, I've got more. I mean, I remember I started adding people in the entertainment industry because I felt like that was where I wanted to go. I really enjoyed being, with the camera on. And so and then Brian Sebastian with Movie Reviews and More contacted me, and there were some other people. Yeah. And there were some other people that contacted me to be in movies. Like, it was the weirdest thing, like how these things just start happening. And everybody felt the energy that I have. And they were like, this is good. We want to put this on camera. I started working with Brian on Movie Reviews and More. And he's a very nice guy. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's got like a good heart. And I've seen him give his time to people where, he's a good guy. So I've enjoyed working. And that podcast, he started 10 years ago, and talk about reinventing it. It was 10 years ago. It really was more about movies and reviews. But you got to understand, like, people ask me, well, where are the movies and the reviews? I'm like, well, good thing he put and more at the end, because a lot of times it's just the and more. And that's okay, because things evolve, things change. And you can imagine a podcast that he started 10 years ago. Yeah, I bet it was a lot of movies and reviews of movies, because he loves movies. And that's what it was. But now it's, it's a lot of other people that, he meets in life along the way, and he sees some kind of spark. I started off as a guest on his show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how and he just was like, oh, I like you. You should be a co-host. And, that's how that started.
Yeah, so good. And so you talked about your 20s being this big party sort of thing, and all of this. What was your first big life setback?
Setbacks. Okay, this is another thing I think, to be happy in life, you got to have a good understanding of death. And I think and I know I do. To me, it's really, I don't think any of us really die. I feel like it's just the beginning of something else, like another. And so I do believe in reincarnation. So I feel very okay and happy when other people die. I'm like, it's part of life. I mean, when you say setbacks, usually setbacks are things that happen in life that are so horrible that it maybe brought you down. And I think the first thing in life is to know that shit happens and we're all going to have stuff that happens in life, and not to the trick is not to make, not to fester too much on it. Just it happens, and then move on. So what has happened in my life, just like everybody else, I've lost my mom, I lost my dad, I went through, I was married for about 5 minutes and divorced, but still that sucked. But I think life has been really good, and and I think the most important takeaway on this is, I don't, when things happen that are bad. I mean, we flooded it 3 times, and that sucked. My house is completely flooded. Now I look at it as, yeah, in
Wait, 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 wait,
Houston
wait, wait,
that
wait.
happened.
Your house was flooded 3 times.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, now you talk about this like, you shrunk something in the laundry. But your house was which I'm thinking everything in a house that gets flooded is
Yeah.
destroyed, including the car and the cat
Oh
and
yeah, we lost the car. Unfortunately, the cats were fine, but they survived somehow. But anyway, yeah, we lost. I lost a car. The thing is I'm such a happy, optimistic person. I mean, I have like these. It was so funny. I was actually in the New York Times because I was outside, and
uh-huh.
I had a those Halloween skeletons, those
Yes.
great big ones. I put that out, and I put a sign up that spray painted that said "Waiting for FEMA." And so somebody had seen that, and they were like, and the guy was like, the skeleton's in a rocking chair, like just sitting there with that sign up. And so that ended up being on the news, and then it was picked up by the New York Times. And anyway, they came out and did a piece on it with me standing out there. I think the takeaway is that even when that shit was going down, I was still laughing, and I was making the best of it. I remember doing recipes upstairs and turning on my camera and doing like, well, today we're going to be cooking with the microwave, and we're going to be making like, like pot roast
Today's
in
the
the
day of the grilled
microwave,
cheese
like,
sandwich.
yeah, right. Like just doing crazy stuff, like, and I don't know. I think there's going to be setbacks in life,
Yeah.
always. But if you're on a level of happiness where just let that shit come and just be and have that attitude, like, come on, bring it on. Like, I mean, I get kind of excited. Like, if we think it's gonna flood, there's a lining to that. I mean, especially if you have flood insurance.
Well, what that kind of does, that in my life has made me feel a little bit weird because there was a forest fire that came through our town
Uh-huh.
in September of 2022, and it was devastating. And it destroyed half of our little village. And I everybody was grieving, everybody's upset, all of these things appropriately so. And I'm sitting there thinking, if our house burns down, we get to start over.
Yeah,
We get to drive out of this state. We get to pick a new place to be, and we get to
exactly.
start it all again.
Yeah,
And how cool is that?
it's
And so
exactly.
I did everybody a favor and just kept my mouth shut about that little thought that I had. But that excitement over the possibility of a reinvention of something,
Yes. Exactly. There is something. Okay, so every time people come over and they're like, "Oh, your house looks really cool," and I'm like, "Yeah," I always say like, I'm one flood away from it just being perfect, because it is true. You get all new appliances. The trick is just to have insurance. So you get, as long
And
as you
really
have,
good waiter boots.
yeah, exactly, and maybe a boat,
Yeah,
or yeah. But I have an upstairs, so we actually made the whole upstairs.
a
That's where
boat
we
launch.
lived, and yeah, and we put a door that was going up the stairs, so like we wouldn't even have to hear like the construction. And it goes on for 6 months because they got to cut all your walls, they got to take out floors, they got to take out cabinets. Everything has to be. But like at this point, I'm good at this. I know what to do. If this is gonna flood, I know the first thing you do is order a big old dump truck, and you got to throw everything away that touched, that got wet.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and take pictures of every single thing. I mean, down to like expired milk, because the goal is to, you want to make sure you've got and like, however much money. I remember for me it was like, I think it was 35 or $37,000 in content of the home. So you got to reach that amount.
Yes.
Yeah, and it
Yes.
all adds up. Yeah. Tricky part is like, the third flood, because you're like, oh crap, I think I posted that last year. And the other funny thing is, like, when FEMA comes out, and it's always been a man, that guy, you want to make sure to, you don't want to, you don't want to be on his bad side, right? Because he's going to be the guy that, if you're friends with him, he's going to make it so much better for you. But if he doesn't like you for some reason, your life is going to suck. So, like, I mean, by the second and third flood, I was like going outside in my bikini, like, oh, it's just so hot that
Oh,
Texas heat.
jeez.
Like, yeah, bringing him cookies, glass of like Prosecco, right? I'm like, ah,
Drinks with umbrellas, right?
right. I had a guy one time that was gay, and he was just like, and I was like, oh, putting on my clothes back on, like, oh, sorry, right? Like,
Well, then
oh,
I would have just grabbed my suits and gone out.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's where you come in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, so it was, it's life has been fun. Every day is fun. I drink a lot of coffee in the mornings, and then about, in the afternoon, I still want the energy to continue. So
Yeah.
that I drink, I love these little healthy energy things. I think it's important to, part of being happy is to stay in shape, and to look the best we can is important. I think that's another way to stay happy. And you got to find what works for you. You know what I mean? So for me, that looks like, a lot of Pilates, and eating clean. So I eat real clean, and I do intermittent fasting. That means, at 5 o'clock, that's shut down. I don't drink. If I'm going to have a drink, it's going to be a day drink.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't do anything after 5 o'clock. All my, like, the food I eat is going to be like, in the morning, I'll do like a little granola, like low carb.
Yes.
Yeah, the blueberries, very important. Almond milk, things, making healthy choices. These are all things really that keep you happy. So a lot of times people think, oh, like, they post pictures, they ate pizza and burgers, and that might make you, like, make your, like, it's like putting like a little, like, joy into you, like, short term. But when
Yeah.
you eat something that's not going to hurt you, you actually feel happier, because you're keeping yourself in shape. It's good
Uh-huh.
for your heart, and that's a happiness that will carry through longer. So I really think it's important that, that you do that. Um,
You talked a little bit in this about just a general sense of spirituality. And you've talked about prayer, you've talked about reincarnation, you've talked about the palm reading, you've talked about a few different things. And so for you with spirituality, where has that factored into the way that you feel about things, your infectious positivity and resilience, and the fact that it's not just that you don't sweat the small stuff. You don't sweat the small stuff. You don't sweat the middle stuff. You don't sweat the big stuff. You sweat nothing.
yeah.
Does that come from kind of a spiritual sense of yourself?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't go to church every Sunday,
Uh-huh.
which, right, I don't do that, but I do believe in God, and I pray every night. And what's beautiful is that He answers my prayers. And so one of the things I pray at night is that, I thank God for all the opportunities that I've had today. And at that point, I love to think of something that happened that was good. and there's always something that, came my way that I can be thankful for. And then I pray that the next day I will have these opportunities and things will come that are good in my way, and I
Yeah.
have the courage to act upon them. That's the thing. So many times in life, I think what happens is we may have dreams and goals, and then they come to us, and we're like, oh no, the timing's not right. And we're scared, and we push them away. And I want people to know that life is short. These opportunities, they're not going to come back. Sometimes you get things that come your way, you say no because it's the timings. No, it's not the right time. You push it away, and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
My motto is to say yes to everything. I've had people call me up to do like shows and to do, all sorts of, to be on TV shows, be in a movie. And it's so funny. I'll read the script and I'll think, oh dear God, I'm 50. I've read scripts where it's like, oh, you're the young woman that comes in and you're like, tempting the husband, and he's married to a woman who's like, she was like in her 30s, and then they were going to have me walk in front of the husband to tempt him. And I'm like this, I'm thinking I should be the wife, right? I saw the other woman. Anyway, the thing is, my point is to say yes. You say yes when these things come to you, and you worry about it later. They're like, oh, you're juggling in that movie. Can you juggle? Oh, yes, I juggle fine. Right? Worry about that shit later. Just say yes and get yourself there, because, and that's what I pray for at night, to have the courage the next day to act upon. Because there's been a lot of things that have come my way, and I'm like, ooh, that's scary. I've never done that before. Just go do it. Do it.
You have a sense of just kind of like listening to the way that you talk. You have this ability to manifest the goodness in your life by focusing on that. Because if your house has been flooded once, then twice, then three times, like every time, like there's a serious state of despair that a person could get into, of feeling defeated, feeling deflated, feeling like maybe the universe is against you. Maybe there is some curse. But your sense of it is kind of like, you know what? I didn't like the wall right here before anyway. So now I have the opportunity to put the wall over here. And then I have somewhere to hang that cool thing that I got. I mean, that seems more like your way of looking at, I use the word setback. It's almost like that's an inappropriate way to talk about it with you, because it's almost like it's truly the word opportunity when for
everything.
you.
Yeah, everything in life is an opportunity. And that's another thing. Yeah. And so instead of setbacks, everything that happens in your life, instead of thinking of it as a step back, think of the goodness. Like if maybe you're in a marriage and you're just like, it's an unhappy marriage, but you're like, I love this person so much, I'm going to be so unhappy. Think of, write down, like, I've had people, like therapists, that are like, write down all the bad things about that person. Well, that's not going to make me feel any better. Instead, let's write down all the good things. Like, oh my God, he's moving out, I'm going to get all the closet space. How awesome is that, right? He's moving out and he's taking the stupid dog. Oh my God, that's great. He's moving out, I don't have to share the remote. I can fart with, without, like whatever it is, who cares? You think about everything in life when stuff happens, no matter how bad it is, always think of you can always find something good, I mean, in everything. And
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah. It sounds a lot like now, is this kind of a manner of way that you have developed like as you've really become yourself, or was there a period of time where you weren't like this, or
No, I got to tell you, my parents were very matter of fact when it came to life and death too. And so I remember, when my parents, they both died in 2012 of cancer. They got it. My dad got it, and he, it's like by the time we knew he had it because he was like this football coach, real tough old guy. And so he got it in his lungs, but we didn't know.
Mm.
All we knew is that he liked to sit by the fireplace. He didn't smoke, but he would sit by the fireplace, and he had COPD, and he would like breathe heavy
Yes.
like this old dog or something. And we would just ignore him, whatever. And then like it metastasized to his brain. And that's when we were like, there's something wrong with you, right? Because he was started acting crazy. And it's soon afterwards, he only lasted about 6 months. But my mom, and now my dad, he had a special gift. So he knew that my mom was sick when he was sick. And I remember him trying to tell me, your mother's sick, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're crazy, you're sick. It's not her. And then when he died, I remember he died in bed, and we were, my mom and I were standing over him, and we never, by the way, this is so funny. He had, he called it his beer can. It was a pacemaker. It looks like a beer can sticking out of you. So,
Sure.
Right. So if you're out there watching this podcast and you have a loved one that has a beer can and they are dying, you're supposed to call and have it turned off. Did not know that. Did
I know.
Not know that. So my dad was laying there, and he had diabetes, and so and he didn't, of course, he didn't want to eat or anything. So we weren't getting the sugar was all messed up. So I mean, he was having shaking. Like, death is ugly. Death is uglier than childbirth. Death is not pretty. I've seen death twice, my mom and my dad, and it was horrible. And I've seen death on animals. It's just right. Death is ugly. Anyway, my dad, though, he was he would start, he was trying to, go over the Rainbow Bridge or go to see Jesus, whatever you want to call it.
Baby Jesus.
He'd start shaking. And then he would sit up and a tear would come out. And my mom and I were like, go into the light. Go into the light, Karen.
Right.
Why aren't you dying? And we called, and he kept coming back. It was like he would try to go, and it was like something he'd sit up and be zapped back. It was that pacemaker.
Oh no. Wow, what an awful thing.
It was doing its job. It kept zapping him back. And he wouldn't go. And when we called the hospice guy, this Enrique, or I don't know, Eduardo, he was like, he's like, you had the pacemaker turned off, right? And we're like, what? Nobody told us.
So your dad is busy floating above his body, yelling in spirit language, going, turn the damn pacemaker off.
Oh my God. Who knew? Anyway. So yeah, but yeah, my dad, he passed away. My mom passed away 2012. I don't even remember what was the point. Where was that story even going?
We were talking about the sense of opportunity as opposed to setbacks. And you started talking about the way that your father was and all of that.
Yeah. That didn't bring it back.
Well, I tried, you see. And so, it sounds like you were pretty close with your parents, but then after that, there's this.
Oh, that's where, now you brought me back.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, so my mom and I stood around my dad as he was dying, and she had California closets here. They were knocking a hole in the wall as he was dying, and she was having his closet in her closet made into one big closet.
Well, there was room, so
yeah. He was, yeah, yeah. So, anyway, I looked at her and I said, "What are we gonna do?" And she was like, "Let's go to Mexico." So we went to like as yeah, that was it. We were like, "Well, let's go to Mexico." Like, I mean, he was shipped out. They came and
I
picked
think
his
she was
body up.
answering a different question than what you were asking. But
Like, what are we gonna do now? Mom's like, "Let's go to Mexico." So let's go drink some margaritas.
but first, let's get this pacemaker turned off.
Yeah, let's get the pace. Let's get him out of here. Like, no, let's just leave the body. We'll deal with it when we get back. Anyway, so we left. We went to San Miguel de Allende, which is beautiful, and we were having the best week. And then, like towards the end of the trip, she was like, I just don't feel right. And her butt doctor, like how you, I don't know. Anyway, that's what we called him. His name was like Dr. Balls, and he was the butt doctor. Anyway,
Ooh, man,
whatever.
this is a
So
great story.
right? So she went to see him when she got back, and he was like, you got blockage, some kind of like they couldn't get up there. And they found out she had colon cancer
Oh wow.
and it had already metastasized. So at that point,
Good for Dr.
she was
Balls.
gone in 6 months. And and my mom and I were best friends.
Uh-huh.
Now, so it was, but it was just, she died, and people, we all live, we all die. And it's just part of life. And I truly believe that we all come together, and people that are very, very close to us, we've spent previous lives, and maybe the next life we'll be together too.
Yeah, that's for them to go in such close proximity. It's actually a pretty common thing to have happen. People who have spent most of their
Oh
life
yeah,
together, when one goes, the other one goes
you
not
hear
long
about that.
after.
It's called like the
Yeah.
heartbroken heart, or what is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that was the case with my parents, because my dad was really a pain in the ass.
Mm. Well, that's why you went to Mexico, right?
Right, we went to Mexico, so I don't think I think it was just a coincidence that they both got cancer within the same year. I know that's weird, but
Or maybe it wasn't the pacemaker. He was just thinking, you're not getting rid of me this easy.
yeah, right. I don't know. Maybe it was something in the house, which I really hope not, because I'm in that house.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, a couple of floods would take care of that. It's like a baptism.
yeah.
So then, like after that, you talked about like you really finding yourself after they're gone, you having a greater like a deeper understanding of you and what you really wanted to do. What happens in that period of time where you're seeking and maybe just discovering about yourself?
Mhm. A lot. Well, I had at the time when my parents died, I had my older son, who, like I said, I was married to his dad for a short amount of time.
Okay.
And I quickly, there's something that happens to women in different parts of our lives, but usually when you hit your 30s, you're like at an age where, no, I don't want that. You can, and and then by 40s, you definitely know. And I mean, and then you get to an age when you're just like, okay, like it doesn't take very much. Like, bye bye. And so I knew there was a lot of time that I stayed single. A lot of time. And I get a lot of opportunities out there to not be single. But there's, it you realize, I mean, for me, being with my kids and staying single was very important. I didn't want them to see me as that mom that had like revolving doors of like, I didn't want that.
Right.
My parents, they didn't give me that. I always had mom and dad, even though it wasn't such a, it wasn't always a pretty thing, because, I saw a lot of arguing. I knew I didn't want to raise my kids to see a lot of arguing. I knew I wanted them to be happy. And, I stayed single for a long time. And then I ended up reconnecting with a guy that I went to middle school with, and we were together 3 months. I got pregnant and I had Cooper, and I didn't stay with him. And then he ended up dying in the beginning of COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I have got my 2 boys 100%. I've got, very small family. It's just the 3 of us. And yeah, and I do everything on my own. So if I want to, like, every now and then I'll go out like on a date because I want to have dinner with somebody. I want to do something. I want to be like a grown up. And so I will, I'll enjoy myself, but I leave it at that. Mm-hmm.
And you're an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You rely upon yourself. You're fiercely independent. And what is the most difficult part of all of that? Like as far as, you know, a lot of people see working for a company as being the ultimate security because you have a paycheck every 2 weeks and these sorts of things. It's a total illusion, but that's the way that people look at it. So what for you is, you love the independence, you're brilliant at the marketing that you do, and you've created a wonderful brand and a couple of different, wonderful products and whatnot. But for you, like, is there a fear factor in any of this?
Absolutely, there can be. And that's why you drink that mushroom powder at night before you go to bed, so you don't think about right?
And now a word from our sponsors.
Yeah, exactly. That's what yeah. But I think a lot of times we worry about things, and then 80-90% of the things we worry about, they don't happen. So at my age in life, I've realized that, even sometimes when you think there's a struggle and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to come up with this? How am I going to do it? Relax, and it's going to happen. And it usually does. I was fortunate enough where when my parents died, since I was an only child, they left me, some money, and it's in the market. I've lost a good bit of it. Like, when when Trump was president, not that I thought he was so great, he's weirdo, but anyway, the market did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it stayed. And every month I could take out a good amount, and the money that I had never went down at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that changed, and I lost a lot, a year ago. But I still have enough to where, it stays kind of steady, and I just take out less, and I can live very simply, and I do. Following your dream. I'm not one of these people that could work somewhere like, I go into an office and that's not me. It never was me. So, for me, it's following my dream, and it's watching things happen, and they are happening. Things happen, and there's, like I said, there's opportunities that come along, and you just have to, like I said, have the courage to act on them. And
You were
every
talking.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't mean
No, no,
to.
no.
So I was talking with Brian Sebastian
Uh-huh.
earlier, and his podcast is one that I recorded a little while back. And one of the things that he had said is the importance of consistency. You have a
Mhm.
product, it's got to be consistent. You've got to keep working on it. You've got to keep putting out content. You've got to keep yourself relevant. And that has been his key to where it is that Brian Sebastian with movie reviews and more has gotten, where you and I met.
Mhm.
Now, for you, what are the key things that you kind of recommend for somebody who you're going out on your own, you have an invention, you're doing a thing, you're providing content and everything like that? What for you are the elements of the win, the long-term win?
I believe that if you truly believe in what you are doing, and make sure you're doing something you love, and to have passion, and you can have passion about all sorts of things in life, but love it, and have no and when you talk about it, let people see and feel that passion. And when other people see and feel it, they want to feel that way, and they're going to buy into what you've got. So, that's my takeaway is Brian he is very consistent. There's only been like a couple days that he's ever missed a show. And one, I felt so bad. One of them was when he was here in Houston and staying with me, but it had nothing to do with us, but there was, a thing
He
that
was
had
about to
happened.
air, the house flooded. It was a
Right.
crazy,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
it was something that had happened. Actually, it was something that had happened on the technical side of the show. And with StreamYard, the lady was in the hospital or something. Anyway, I remember him like it really knocked him back. He's like, you don't understand. I've never like all the years, I don't even know if less than 5 times that a Tuesday night got messed up. Anyway, he is very consistent. And he's always letting me know how good he's like, you're doing great. It's good that you go on every day, and that people, because people need that. They need to know that you're invested in what you're doing. So yeah, I like that. Mine is to be passionate about it, and to show people to be happy. Nobody wants to get on and to it's like if you're watching something, I guess, and I know there's a lot of people out there that have podcasts or shows, and it's like this talking about stuff that is sad. And I just feel like,
Mm-hmm.
God, how, if you're watching, and I'm not saying it's not important to talk about those things and go to therapy and do all that, but if you're watching a podcast, is that really something that you want to watch? Is that going to make you feel better watching other, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't want to watch. When people are talking about stuff like that, I just want to say, shut up, like get over it. We've all had issues. We've all had shit that happens. I don't care that, you got bit by a bumblebee in the ass and, blah, 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 blah. Like, so what? Put a Band-Aid on it.
Walk it off.
Yeah. Get over it.
You have what I like to kind of refer to as the invincible mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is no matter what happens, there's always a way out of the thing.
Yes.
And there's always a way to pick yourself up. There's always,
yeah.
and actually the picking yourself up, the rising from the ashes is really at its core pretty fun. I mean, it's hard, but it's fun because you get to then rise up and show how truly invincible you actually are.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, when I don't know, I'm trying to think on times when I have felt sad. And what I can remember is that when you feel that way, when you feel like depressed, it doesn't really matter anymore, like bad things that are happening, because I mean, when you're it's like a state of mind, it controls you. And everything that happens, now you've opened up to the universe and all of the negative stuff. So you could go to the store, you're walking around the store, and something is going to happen, right? Somebody bumps you, bad shit is going to happen because you're open to the negative. But if you just turn it around and like you can get yourself out of the sadness and the bullshit. And the trick, I think, is to not allow yourself to stay into the sadness. Or I think what happens is maybe people stay in it too long, and then it kind of takes over, and then it's hard to get out of it, But if you get out of it quicker and then reverse it, and sometimes, I don't know if they still do this. Do you remember back in the day, it was like, there was this thing where people would say, when you feel sad, look in the mirror and smile. Like,
oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like talk and say like, I'm happy. God, this is stupid. I'm happy. But like, you can like, reverse it and be happy, and kind of like, feel something, and try to grab on to something that makes you feel good. I tell you, going outside and looking at the grass makes me happy. If I just slow down and I, take off my shoes and just kind of sit in the grass and just kind of look around and just like, and you can just feel happiness. You know what I mean? Just like that. And then you just carry that feeling into going into the store. Smile at people when they walk by. Maybe be that weirdo that says, "Hi, how are you?" Right? Be that weirdo because who cares? Right? You're not going to see them again and be happy. If you're a woman, put on something sexy. Go to the grocery store and like look and like, flirt, be flirty, be happy, be sexy, feel beautiful. Life is too short. If it's cold, put on that meat coat, that your mother or grandmother left you. Okay, put the diamond ring on. Have your drink in the middle of the afternoon. Do what you want, right?
Well, absolutely. And when you're talking, you've kind of got me thinking here because the other day, a friend of mine offered me a cigarette, and I said, no, no, thanks. And he said, well, do you smoke? I said, I don't smoke. He's like, have you ever smoked? I said, yeah, when I was in the sixth grade. He goes, the sixth grade? I'm like, yeah, I'm Gen X.
Yeah, right?
And we're all smoking in the sixth grade.
Exactly.
And so there really is something that is kind of quintessentially Gen X about what it is that you're talking about. What I mean about that is that there was this just independence in our youth was something that was just very present. The concept of the latchkey kid. And for those who know what that is, It just means that half of your class at school had a key around their neck because mom and dad were working. When you go home, you let yourself in because you walk home from school, you let yourself in a couple hours, you watch, afternoon television, eat frosted flakes, and that was the afternoon, or go skateboarding.
Yep.
You would go on adventures around your home to the creek, to the park, is the skateboarding, the bicycling, and you would just be gone until the lights came on your street. And that was when it was kind of time to start going home. And you didn't get asked about what you were doing when you were out there, which meant that you got into all manner of stuff out there.
Oh yeah.
And you came home with an adventure that you didn't talk about with your parents, which means that you had good days and you had bad days. And yet you came home and you slept and you went out the next day and you learned this profound sense of personal responsibility and self-reliance, who to hang out with, who is going to beat you up, and like that sort of thing. And so this just like resilient mindset that you're talking about it as I am responsible for my own emotions. I'm responsible for my own mindset. My house is going to flood. My car is going to, need a this or a that, throw a belt, but me, I am the power plant that powers everything around me in my life. And it is such a place of strength that you're talking about. And I recognize this a lot that is really strong and unique about Generation X. And I think that those of us that are that, we remember that stuff.
Yeah. I remember the Saratoga cigarettes. Do you remember? They were probably that long.
Go on.
Right? I mean, it's like heavy. And we would go, and just like you said, there's a bayou down from the street from here. And we would walk to the bayou, which I think they find dead people in that bayou now, right? We would go, and there was like, where there's like the overpass, like the underpass, and it's like this, and we would go sit like right there under the bridge, and we sit on that. And as kids, and I remember spray painting the side, that like, oh, we all loved each other. It's so funny. And you're right. There was parents would drop us off at the Galleria and just leave us there like, all day. I remember we used to go to this like place called Fame City where it was, they had bowling and I don't know, all sorts of kid stuff. But one of the things they had was this kiddie club. And that we would bring a change of clothes in our bags, the girls, like some kind of little hoochie outfit. And mom, poor parents, they thought we were going to be playing like video games and bowling and stuff and roller skating. And we'd go up to this club. And that at 13, I mean, it didn't take me long before I was dating the DJ, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was like I think he was like a junior high school dropout. My parents, and he had do you remember when he had a truck and it was like a lowered dropped truck.
Oh yeah, the mini trucks. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
With like the thing on the side that would like, to make it look like it was real low. And I mean, yeah, and he was the DJ at the club. And my parents, who were pretty, they were pretty well off, and we would always be traveling to Europe. And I wanted to take him to Europe. And my mom was real open-minded. She was like, "Oh yeah, like, it's okay. She wants to bring a friend." My dad's name was CL. She's CL. Just let him come. Let him come. Oh my God. I remember like my parents or my dad could not have been more horrified like by me dating this guy. But it was a whole different time. Like I said, my mom, she organized performing group tours all over the world. So I was always going somewhere with her. And I remember when I was 11, she had several groups going at the same time. And so she had other girls in the office who were all going on, one place or another. And she told me, "I need you to go to the Orient and you're going to be in charge of it was like a 400 people. And she's like, "You're going to be in charge." And I was like, "But I've never been to I'd been to Hong Kong, but I'd never been to China." And she was like, "Well, you know what to do. You've seen me do it 100 times. You get out there." But it's funny how, that made me into who I am today, which is a very confident, I can talk to people. I'm not afraid of people. I'm very, you can put me anywhere and I'll have a good time. I love to travel. And, I know how to, that's what we would do. We took groups of thousands of people. And my mom, I watched this, she was a 4'11" Italian woman who would walk really fast. And she was on a train in Russia and the train got hijacked and she was the negotiator to where she, because they knew she was in charge of all these people. Wow. And they wanted the money. So there was like, she'd write down and they'd write an amount and hand it to her. And she'd write, and it's funny how, your parents will make you into, who you are. But when they die, that is when you really become, I think a product of who they were and who you are, a combination. Yeah.
It sounds like your mother was a pretty courageous person.
She was incredible. Yeah, she had a really loud, infectious laugh, which now I do too. And my dad had a huge personality. He was like an old football coach that collected Corvettes. And she started off, when they met, she was like what do they call those airline attendants, which now they're like, what are they called? Anyway, that's, yeah. And they, they had me, only child, best friends with my mother, absolutely adored her. And dad, not so much. He was a pain in the ass.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that you threw him in the bayou.
Yeah. There were times we would have liked to throw him in the bayou, but he was a tough ass. He would have jumped right back out.
Yeah. The pacemaker would have saved him. And then he would have jumped out and
yeah. Yep.
And so did your mother grow up in Italy?
She was born in Pietrasanta, and then she, family moved to upstate New York, and so she grew up in the Catskills. So around a lot of Jewish people, which is funny because here in Houston, I live in an area where there's a lot of we've got a very strong Jewish community. So yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
everybody's celebrating Hanukkah right now, and
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And then she met your father and they moved together to Texas?
She was here in Texas. She got out of where she was from, upstate New York, the Catskills. Like, do you remember the movie Dirty? Was it? I think it was Dirty Dancing. They
Oh,
had in those.
yes.
Remember the bungalows?
Uh-huh.
That is, yeah, that's where she grew up. Actually, those the bungalows. It was. I think they shot it in that same little area where so yeah, she got out of there quickly, and she knew she wanted to do so much more, and so she came to Texas. And my dad, he was actually he was born in the corn like in Texarkana, which is like Arkansas and Texas, right at the border of Texas and Arkansas. And
Mhm.
he was an interesting character. He So I remember at a certain age, I must have been about, uh, I guess I was in my 20s when he told me, but he told me that he had a special gift. And so when he grew up raised by his Aunt Bessie, and Aunt Bessie would, she was known all over the world for reading people's tea leaves.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. And so he told me when I was in my 20s that he had the gift. And he said, and you have the gift too to do. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said,
Sure.
the funny thing is he never told my mom that he did this. And so she didn't know. And he was like, you got to promise me that you won't tell her. Well, of course, that's exactly what I did. I was like, Dad's crazy. Yeah. And he was, I mean, I didn't, me and my dad were not that close, but he felt compelled to tell me about it. And he didn't want her to know. So she really did think he was crazy. She had no idea.
Okay.
He would turn the cup over and he would turn it 3 times, and he'd
Okay.
turn it back, and he would watch as the tea leaves, like, and he would read the inside of the cup. Well, at some point, I don't even think he needed the cup. He had that ability to just to see to see things that most people didn't. I remember like letters would come in, and he could put a hand over a letter and know it, and he'd all
Amazing.
get all mad, yeah, at stuff that like if he didn't approve of me doing things, yeah, he saw way too much.
Wow. That's
I know.
so he got taught how to do this, but you never learned the from him.
No,
He
but as I through the years, if you have special, like, these kind of gifts,
Yes.
they don't have to be in the exact same form as your parents. It can come in out in other ways. So for me, I knew over the years that I had my own gift was that before people would pass away, I would see it happen. So I
Gotcha.
had a
Yeah.
friend that my best friend in my 20s, and she was living in Houston, and I had moved out to Los Angeles for a brief time because I was going to be famous, and right. So I went out there, and there was a I was in this house in Beverly Hills, like in the mountains, in this there was this party, and I met this director, and he was going to fly my friend out to LA. So I remember the night that she died. We were actually so my friend out there was taking me to the airport. We were going to go pick her up. We stopped to eat Mexican food. I would not recommend that because being in Texas, we actually have really, 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 really good Mexican food. And I don't know, at the time, y'all in California, y'all didn't have that. So
No,
I
we
imagine,
don't.
It was like, yeah. So we stopped there to eat Mexican food. And it's just like this wave of, I can't explain it other than it's like, it all happened. And I just felt it, saw it, knew it. And it wasn't even, you couldn't have talked me out of it, because I mean, it's like you saw it and it really, really happened. And I knew it. So that was on the way to the airport to pick her up. And it just took over me so much that I went outside and I called my mom and I said, you need to go over to Susie's, because that's the girl's name. And she was living with this guy, Paul, and he was a sniper in the military. Okay. And I was like, you need to, and I was really, close with Paul too. He was such a nice, really, really laid back guy. So it was weird when all this happened. But I called my mom and I said, Paul shot Susie in the head and then he shot himself, and you need to go over there. My mom was like, are you on drugs?
That's really specific.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, I saw it. She was sleeping and he put a pillow over her head and there were cigarettes. He didn't smoke. He didn't smoke, but he was like in a complete like other state of mind. And so he shot her in the head and then he shot himself. And they had this bulldog and the dog was barking and barking and barking and barking and like, so my mom called and my mother was like, what are you talking about? Susie had gone over to my mom's house and borrowed a suitcase to come out to LA. And so my mom was like, I just saw her last night. And I was like, I know, but I'm just telling you. And so I went back inside the restaurant and I told my friend Silver, and that was her name, Silver. And I said, we don't need to go to the airport and pick up Susie. She's dead. And my friend's like, oh dear God, like, what are you on? Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to the airport and sure enough, she didn't get off the flight. And so we went back to Silver's. And that night I went to sleep. And in the middle of the night, my mom or Silver came and woke me up and she said, your mother's on the phone. And you were right. All that happened. So they have a flight for you. You're going home. And, I had 2 funerals to go to. Anyway, the point is that I saw it all happen.
Yes.
And that actually happened a couple other times too. But, it's kind of a dark gift to have.
These gifts that we have are the gifts that we have. And for some reason, you have a sense of being able to see traumatic events before they occur. And I'm sure that at times it has been a disturbing thing to you.
Well, I don't, like I said, I think since I'm a happy person, I just look at them. It's in a way, it's just, I feel lucky to have it. I think, there's a movie out right now. I think it's called Lucy. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay, you should watch it. It's pretty good. But what's interesting, the takeaway of that is that there is so much that we don't use in our brain. Like, we just use such a small part of it. And if we can tap into like using just even a little bit more, what are the possibilities, right? Imagine all the things that we are capable of. And so, you hear about people that are like, can do things that, are like, oh, wow, they have the gift of this or that. Well, they're just tapping into the brain that, and I really do think we all have, I have friends that, have like, special abilities here and there. And like one of my friends, this woman, she always knows when it's going to flood. And so it comes to her in her dreams. She will, and it's so like the Harvey one, she was like, oh my God, Rachel, it's going to be so bad. There's a baby and there's animals floating, a baby. I saw a baby floating down in the water and animals. She's like, buildings, things just coming. So, but it was beyond that. Like I remember like, when I found out I was pregnant, it was the craziest thing because I went into like, to have like a female exam, and when I was there, um, I don't even, I mean, it was like right when I hit the door to leave, they were like, "Hey, any chance you're pregnant? We didn't even ask you that." And I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no." I was like, and they were like, "But didn't you say that you just got engaged?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, but I'm too old for that." And he's got, diabetes. They were like, "Get your butt back in here. Let's just pregnancy test you just to make sure." And they called me later. They're like, "Oh, sweetheart, you're pregnant." So my point is, I was just barely pregnant. And that friend, she called me that day and was like, "Congratulations, it's a boy." Like she knew. Yeah. So she had
Wow.
all sorts of, crazy little gifts like that. But I think, and the whole point of all this is that and I remember talking to her, and she would tell me, we all have the same abilities. It's just tapping into it. And I think you have to first believe in it and not be afraid of it. I always tell my kids, you know, that I they believe on the same kind of track that I do, as far as that when we die, where our presence is still there. And my mom, good God, my mother was talking to me so much after she died. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
could hear her. What are the orchids? Are you just gonna let them die? Like I could. She's driving me nuts. And I mean, I I think that, and to not be afraid. And I teach my kids that, if a presence comes to you, don't be afraid of it. And I think that's what happens a lot is, maybe as children, we're taught, that, oh, ghosts are scary or whatever. I don't, I'm not afraid. And my kids are not afraid. And that is, and that opens everything up to a whole nother spiritual of don't be afraid. If you have a gift, I think, shock and like, and people just shut it down. But if you embrace it and open it up and really let it grow and flower, like, right, how can you make it even better? That's how those things, happen.
That's and have your children talked about having any and being attuned to anything?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My little one is every now and then he will tell me that he's seen grandma,
Oh,
and my
okay.
older one told me that he was like he thought for sure he saw a man on the stairs. Like he was, and he's just so calm. He's just like, "There's a guy on the stairs." I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever, go with that." Don't and I always tell my kids, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid if I remember one time my dad's presence came, and for me it was like I could smell. My dad wore Old Spice,
There you go.
and I was at like I lived in an apartment,
Old
and at
Spice.
the time, right, you remember that?
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah.
I was outside doing laundry in my little area. There's nobody around, and just it was so strong. It was like he was there. And so for me, I think smells are they can trigger memory. And that's it. You tap into do you ever have like things?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
And for me, I could be in the middle of my house, and like it always starts with a smell and a feeling, and it's like an energy will go through me. And I know that is a time to tap into, you know, your gift, I think.
No, it absolutely is. And early in my life, I had an encounter with a visible entity, and I was petrified.
Yeah.
And the petrified part of me, I think back to that and I go, well, yeah, I was maybe 20 years old. I had always been taught that ghosts are scary things. Come to
Hmm.
find out, it was a little girl that was just loved to freak people out. and
Yeah.
be silly with people. Like I was at a bookstore that I was working at, and there was another person who had the gift to be able to see those things. And
Yep.
I spoke with him the next day. He says, "Oh yeah, she's around here all the time. If she's showing herself to you, she's playing with you." And I'm
Yeah.
like, this was late at night. I was freaked out. I ran out of the place, locked it up, and I was like, "I'm going
Yeah.
home now. Goodbye."
Yeah.
But
Well,
it,
imagine like if you, I guess if you were, if that would have happened, and as a child, you were always taught that instead of that's weird, ghosts are scary, but what if as children we're taught the opposite? Like one day you're gonna see somebody, like you tell them to expect it. I mean, right? Like you tell your kids, you know what? Don't be surprised if one day you see a person that maybe that has passed on. Maybe you see something that's it's a it's a ghost, but that's okay. It's okay. It's normal because sometimes when we die, our presence is still there, and some people have that special gift to see them. So if you're taught that, imagine if you're a kid and you're told that. And then here you are in your 20s, you're working at a store and you see the child. What if when you saw the child, instead of being afraid and leaving, you would have sat and talked to her, right?
exactly. And as you're talking about this relates 1000% with everything else that you've been talking about. We are conditioned very young to view this as a good thing and this as a bad thing.
Yeah.
And we come to embody that sort of thing, and it extrapolates to seeing a spirit is a scary thing.
Mhm.
Why? Losing a job is a scary thing. Why?
Yeah.
Having a flood is an awful thing. Is it really? And of course, there's plenty of bad in these things, but it's really a matter of your perspective and your conditioning.
Mhm.
Because yeah, what if I'd knelt down and said, "Who are you?" What
Yeah.
would have happened? you know and with a fire or a flood, what if there is less of an emphasis on
Mhm.
the material things that
Mhm.
we lose, and more of an emphasis on, I wonder where this is all going to go, wonder what this is all going to be,
Yeah.
and reconditioning your program
Mhm.
to look at things not the way that we were necessarily conditioned to look, not look at them, but to look at them from a position of opportunity and power,
Mhm.
and a position of creativity and reinvention.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what you just naturally bring to the table.
Absolutely. Heck yeah. You know, yeah, I remember my mom used to say, think of the very okay, when something bad happens, okay, let's think of the very worst thing that could happen because of this. Think of the worst, and I do that in life. So like when something happens, I'm like, okay, so what's the worst that's gonna happen? Imagine it, imagine yourself handling it, and then anything that happens below that, that's no big deal because the worst that could happen, I could do this and still be okay. Right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because
So,
at the end of everything, when you look at people who have had major things happen to them in their
mhm,
life that you would traditionally look at and go, man, what a setback, what a rough thing, what a terrible thing. You find that the resilient people, they're able to bounce back, and they
yeah.
come back bigger, they
Oh, yeah.
come back more prepared.
Oh, yeah.
There's Hollywood stars that have had this sort of thing
Oh,
happen to them.
yeah.
Some big thing happens to them, and in a few years past, they come back bigger and more interesting
Oh,
than they
definitely.
ever
Hell
have.
yeah. You get a do you know how many people that I'm friends with that have, like, been homeless, completely lost everything? I mean, I was in fact, I was just when I went to Vegas, like, a week ago, and the Uber driver that picked me up was telling me his story. And he was like, he said, you wouldn't believe it. He goes, I had a lot of money. I was very successful and I lost everything. And I mean, to the point where he goes, I was living outside. I had nothing. And within 2 weeks, I was able to bounce back and get, I was in a, an apartment. I had a car. He's like, everything. He said, it's just, and then I had that, what that does for a person. And this is the takeaway. What that does, if this happens to you in life, is that you can, when you think about what's the worst thing that could happen, fuck it, you could be homeless and still bounce back because you've been there before. You know how to deal with it. And it's like, hell, if I lost everything, I know the park bench down the street is a good park bench. I know that the Kentucky Fried Chicken has free mustard packets. I know that, like, whatever, how to survive on the street. Like, so I mean, I have a great respect for people that tell me that and I have a lot of friends. My rock star director that I said was on tour with Rick's, he was homeless for like 6 months. 6 months.
Amazing.
And he had everything and was sued and like lost everything, and was like park bench homeless and turned it around. And now he owns tour buses, and he has other people that, like myself, that he's helping become somebody. Like, he's met, and he met some guy, like an Uber driver that and the guy, he told him, hey, I'm in music, and then the Uber driver was like, man, I am too. And next thing you know, that guy was rapping. He ended up picking up that guy up and now making this guy famous. So it's like, my point is, it's like, you can, just like you said, things that happen, the really bad things, boy, that builds character. And it teaches you that you are resilient and strong. And no matter what happens, even if you lost everything again, you could get out of that.
I grieve in this conversation mainly because of how many young people particularly, are kind of like being programmed now that life is not that way.
Right.
That there is some great amount of total overwhelm that is stacked against a person, that there are so many fewer opportunities now than there have been in decades past, and everything has changed. There's a lot of things that are very different. I'll tell you what, if I was a young person now, I would live in a van and I would travel everywhere.
I want to live in a van. Are you kidding? I would like to live in a van. If I didn't have my kids, I would buy like one of these RV kind of things.
They're badass.
Yes, I would travel and live in that little thing, because the more crap you have, it's like it owns you. And that's including, I mean, so if you are out there, so many people are out there, they're like, I'm lonely. I want to have a boyfriend or a wife or a girlfriend shut up. You are free. You don't have, go out on dates or Tinder, whatever you do. No, you are free. And there is something so beautiful to that. I'm telling you, if I didn't have kids and live in this, I would be so happy, and a very small, and just all this shit you have, it's too much. Right?
Yeah. Your invention, your creativity, your ability to be resilient, those are the things that are real. And the things are nice, the nice cars, nice clothes, like it's all really cool. But at the base of it, your ability to invent, reinvent, create is the thing that helps all of these kind of like old tropes of these things are bad and you can't overcome them. It's just not true. You can overcome these things. These things are as catastrophic as you make them be.
Yeah. I have a friend, and you know, he's got that freedom to travel the world and just, and he doesn't have kids. And it's funny, he was actually he was a Mormon, ex-Mormon, grew up and married into the temple and did all of this stuff the right way, and it
Oh,
didn't
good for
work
him.
out, right? And so I mean, I think that changed his path to to realize he didn't want to be Mormon. And so he's, now he's got that freedom though, and that's the, it's beautiful that he is, that's what he does. And I tell you, I look at him and I'm like, you are, but he doesn't walk around saying, oh, I'm lonely, I need a dog or a cat or kids. No, he's just like, I know, I don't want any of that. Right? Life is good. Like, he tells me, he's like, I am so happy. I've got 7 girlfriends. Like, right? Who needs, why would you just have one when you can have, like, lots? And yeah, and just travel. And that to me, I think is really happy, right?
Joseph Smith is very disappointed in him.
I know. I know, right? Yeah.
So I want to ask you a specific question here
Mhm,
as we kind of like draw to a close here.
mhm,
Um, I want you to think of your 2 kids. I want you to
mhm,
think of the people that you want them to become. And
mhm,
the most important message that you would want them to carry with them in their hearts
mhm,
from you.
mhm.
What would you tell them as the most important things that they need to have as a piece of themselves as they go forward into their life and someday without you?
Yeah. I think being happy, just be happy, just be, and maybe that's not always going to be easy, but to know that, just like we talked, all the things that we've talked about, that it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Everything, no matter how bad it is, remember, there's always going to be another day. There's always tomorrow, and whatever happened today, it's going to be in the past. And then, just keep going, keep moving, one foot in front of the other, and learn continually. Be open to learning new things and trying new things and traveling and smiling and saying hello to the strangers that walk by. Mhm.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, thank you for that. And Rachel, it's just
Mhm.
been wonderful talking with you. I mean,
I agree.
wonderful
Wonderful talking to you too.
in this, learning your story,
Mhm.
your sense of positivity, your sense of total resilience, and you turning just conventional ideas on their head and going, why do I believe this?
Mhm.
What I believe is something completely different, that we move on, that we're bigger than this incarnation, that what's the worst thing that could happen? I have to
Mhm.
start completely over. And that's okay,
Mhm.
because I've done it 100 times. It's going to be
Mhm.
all right. So
Mhm.
your resilience, your brand's coffee talk, and Rachel Roberts recipes and
Mhm.
everything like that, just thank you for the wonderful things that you bring to the world, the happiness, the inspiration, and just the essence that is you. You do wonderful things.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
And please make sure to like and to subscribe. Those things really help out every single brand. And Mindful Mutiny is something that is growing. And what I do is I help coach people like you to get into the next stage of their lives. Because I'll tell you what, as we grow up, we get filled with a whole lot of ideas that don't really make sense and don't serve us. So we figure out what those things are in the same way that Rachel has, and we move on from them with a strategic plan. So thank you so much for joining us on Mindful Mutiny. Now go be something great.